How's it, guys? So today I was going to do a whole video on probiotics, whether they work, whether they're effective, if and when we should take them, what times, what doses, all that kind of thing. Because recently I was on a course of antibiotics and my mother had asked me, was I taking my probiotic? And I had said, no, I'm going to take it after the antibiotic so that the antibiotic doesn't kill off all the probiotics I'm taking. I thought, finish the course and then start the probiotics. And then I thought, why do I think that, and why does she think we should take them with the antibiotic? And who of us is correct? So that led me down a investigative researching rabbit hole on probiotics. And sorry, you can see I'm sitting in the sun today, right now, getting my vitamin D3. So my research into probiotics obviously led me into a whole topic of gut health, the microbiome, and I discovered many experts, one of whom is Dr. Stephen Gundry. And anyway, it turns out we have trillions, multiple trillions of bugs and bacteria inside of us, on our skin, outside of us, around us. So the problem with taking probiotics is that you may buy a product that's got 4 strains, 9 strains. Who's to say these are the strains that have died off? Who's to say these are the strains that we actually need? And anyway, Dr. Stephen Gundry espouses the value and the benefits of vitamin D3, hence me in the sun. And so my whole probiotic research journey has led me more interested in gut health, the microbiome, and vitamin D3. So this whole video today is going to cover and touch on these 3 sort of topics and elements of our health. So let me cover what I learned about probiotics first. The main thing is that there's no conclusive evidence at all that I could find to say that probiotics actually really help. Some people feel better on them. If you have killed off all your gut flora, it may be, but everything is may be beneficial. And if you are going to take them with a course of antibiotics, what I found out on Google is that you should take it 2 hours away from the antibiotic. So take your antibiotic and then 2 hours later take the probiotic, or take your probiotic, let that digest, and then take your antibiotic 2 hours later, or finish your course of antibiotics, like I said, and then do your probiotics. And then the most important part, if you are going to take them, make sure that it's micro encapsulated, which means that it's sealed off in tiny little micro capsules. So you'll have the capsule, but then there's micro capsules as well, so that the first capsule will obviously dissolve in your stomach acid, but the micro capsules hopefully will make it down to your colon, which is where you need them. So the main problem with probiotics is that they probably mostly get destroyed by your intensely acidic stomach acid. And that's what your stomach acid is there to do. It's meant to be acidic to burn off bugs and pathogens. So the jury's out on probiotics, and there is a study recently done, which I will link to in the description box below. It was done by researchers in Israel, where they took a group, not a big group of people, divided them into 3. You can read the study in the link down below. They all got antibiotics, and then one group got a fecal transplant afterwards, the other group got nothing, and the third group got probiotics. And they actually found that the group who got the probiotics took the longest to return to their normal, healthy microbiome gut flora. Interesting. The fecal transplant people, putting poop back, theirs returned the quickest, of course, because you're restoring what was there. And then the people who received no treatment, within 21 days, which is not that long, their gut microbiome had resumed and restored. So it says to me that possibly probiotics are a waste of money. If you're going to spend the money, make sure you buy the best quality you can afford, micro-encapsulated, and just hope that it's going to work. It seems that the only benefit I could find to probiotics is that it may reduce the incidence of antibiotic-related diarrhea. So it's not that big of a benefit in my eyes, unless you do suffer with that. So moving on, I delved into the gut microbiome rabbit hole. And of course, there's many factors that influence our microbiome and its health, diet being one of them, which again would say that in terms of probiotics, feeding the bacteria is far more beneficial than taking a probiotic. Even if they have died off, they can restore slowly over time. So just feed them the foods that they want, which means healthy whole foods, not crap, not sugar especially. It seems sugar is one of the worst things you can do for your gut microbiome and for your immunity. And speaking of immunity, that leads me on to what I'm doing right now out in the sun, getting a bit hot here. I'm getting in my natural vitamin D3. So when I was listening to Dr. Stephen Gundry, he talks about vitamin D3 for his COVID patients. Dr. Stephen Gundry is a cardiologist who has been practicing for many years. He's now 70. He's still an active practitioner. But he got very interested in immunity and the gut microbiome. And he noticed that most of our immunity actually lines the wall of our gut, because the gut is just one, I think it's one cell thick, and it can be permeated by pathogens, leaky gut. And so our immune system is there to protect us. Anyway, he espouses taking high levels of vitamin D3 to boost immunity, especially for COVID patients, especially in these times. So he says for himself, he will take, if he feels like he's coming down with something, he will take 150,000 IUs of vitamin D3. That's a lot. He said and then he'll drop the dose down. 150,000 the first day, 100,000 the next day, 50 the next day, 25, and then he'll go into like a maintenance dose of about 10,000 IUs. Obviously, the sun is one of the ways we get D3. And so I then went and listened to a podcast with one of my favorite interviewers, Tom Bellew, and he interviewed a Canadian dentist by the name of Dr. Joel Gould. Now, Dr. Joel Gould also espouses the enormous benefits of vitamin D3. And he is more of an advocate of, if you can get it from the sun, do so, safely of course, hence the hat. Unfortunately, sunscreen does block our production of making vitamin D3 naturally. But because it's something we can get naturally, I would imagine it's wise to get some sensible sun exposure. This is what I've gathered from what I've heard and listened to. So I do 10 minutes a day on both sides if it's sunny. I am supplementing with D3. When I was a banting coach and when I'd studied for it, we would test our clients' D3 levels pretty much regularly. But as Dr. Joel Gould had said in the interview, again, I'll link to that one below, and I'll link to Dr. Stephen Gundry's interview below. Dr. Joel Gould had said that, it's not routine to test for vitamin D3, and yet, because it's actually a hormone and not a vitamin, it's crucial to so many bodily functions. A surprising thing he mentioned, and I didn't know this, but did you know that in I think it's the 20s, the 1920s, the good old days, they used to put patients out in the sun on hospital beds for TB, as a TB, I don't want to say cure, but as a TB treatment. And they found that many, many patients improved. The sun is antibacterial, it's antifungal, and it's got many healing properties. And in fact, we evolved to be outdoors. So it makes sense that we actually need the sun. Wait, this hat's a little bit in the way. So it makes sense that we need the sun. We need the UV radiation in small doses. And obviously with the cancer scares and worries, there's a lot of concern about being out in the sun. But it turns out that a lot of cancer patients, in fact, I think all that they've tested from what Dr. Joel Gould was saying, is that they all have low levels of vitamin D3. And so boosting this level, conversely or counterintuitively, can help you fight off cancer. So, to conclude, I'm not an expert, but I do know that D3 is critical for immunity, health, to boost other hormone levels for so many functions. I will link to articles below, and of course with vitamin D3 you must remember you need K2 so that the D3 can do what it needs to do in your body. So the purpose of today's topic is to just get you to think about your gut microbiome. Make sure your D3 levels are up, especially in these times when we should have high immunity now during COVID. And just do your own research. I think it's well worth empowering yourself with health knowledge. Dr. Joel Gould got onto all of this through many health crises of his own, which he has now managed to alleviate. So he's talking from wisdom and experience. And the thing I find the most interesting is that Dr. Stephen Gundry and Dr. Joe Gould, who both espouse keeping your vitamin D3 levels high, they actually recommend different diets, but they are united on this one point. And so are many other longevity experts, health experts, Dr. David Sinclair, the list goes on and on. So if there's nothing else you take away from today's video, sure, I'm getting hot now. Get sensible sun exposure if and when you can, and if you can't, or if you are worried about sun exposure, then sun exposure is also good for your sleep. Remember in my sleep video, which I will link to again below, and here, I think, no, here. In the sleep video, sun exposure and actually getting sunlight on your face and on your eyes, your eyes taking the sunlight and send signals to your brain, it helps you sleep better. And your sleep is where you repair all the damage that the sun does. So yes, you do get mild damage from the sun, but it's damage that we evolved to handle. This is the message from Dr. Joel Gould. We actually evolved to, so the sun helps us sleep. During sleep we produce melatonin, and the melatonin is what goes around and does all the repair work with many other hormones, and that's an anti-cancer hormone, melatonin. It's an anti-disease hormone. Oh, it just shows you, hey, we should just align ourselves with Mother Nature. I hope you found today's video very interesting, and I hope it leads you on a path of your own research. Have an awesome day. Like, subscribe, all good things. Bye. Bye.